days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. I have a question. OBJ to the Bay be an actual thing? Well, Adam Schefter was on Pat McAfee, and he talked about the fact that last year, the 49ers and Odell Beckham had mutual interests in a relationship as far as them bringing Odell into play. And John Lynch had discussed this a little bit last year, that they just weren't in a good spot. Their record wasn't right. Los Angeles presented a better opportunity for him to win football games, and so they decided to go that route. He decided to go to Los Angeles, and the thought process has been, since he's been recovering from his ACL, is that eventually he would come back and play for the Los Angeles Rams. But now Schefter goes on to McAfee and says there's potentially an opportunity for Odell Beckham in San Francisco. He says, why wouldn't the 49ers potentially go after Odell? And what does Odell bring to this roster? You could easily say, oh, we don't need him, right? I mean, we got Christian McCaffrey now. We don't need him. We've got plenty of guys. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings. What could OBJ do? Well, the first thing he could do is not play for the Los Angeles Rams anymore. Because when he plays for the Los Angeles Rams, he makes plays against the 49ers. It's not something that I like to see consistently. And what did he do against the 49ers last year? Well, the big thing was, in the NFC Championship game, he had 9 catches for 113 yards with a 29-yard play that was a huge play in the game, a 12.6 average. He made plays against this 49ers defense. One of the easiest ways to prevent him from making plays is to play for your own team. That's first off. Now, is a player like Brandon Ayuk excited about it? Brandon Ayuk kind of said boo to this. I don't know if that had to do with Halloween or if that had to do with him not wanting Odell Beckham on this team. But it's an interesting concept. Danny Gray really hasn't got anything going. You could say that a lot of that has to do with he's not getting as many opportunities. There hasn't been as many opportunities with him and Jimmy Garoppolo really connecting. I think Danny Gray is meant more for what Trey Lance does on offense. So what could Odell Beckham do for this team? Well, first off, he gives you a legitimate threat at the 3. I mean, Jawan Jennings is converting on third downs at an all-time rate. I'm a huge fan of Jawan Jennings, but Odell Beckham is different. He can win in man coverage. He understands what to do against the zone. The guy that understands how to play football as a wide receiver at the highest level. You're talking about a guy that's had 5 years at which he had 1,000 yards receiving. It's really impressive. Now, there's been injuries along the way. He hasn't been as successful over the last couple years. That's something to remember. 2020, injuries, only played 7 games, 319 yards. In 2021, he played 14 games and only got 537 yards. But he played for 2 teams, one of those being the Browns, and him ended up getting released and then landing with Los Angeles. So this is an interesting prospect for the San Francisco 49ers. It would be a way for them to improve. We're coming off a week in which Willie Snead was the 5th wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, or 4th, depending on how you look at it. Tay Martin getting plays as well. So it's not like the 49ers are all set at the wide receiver position. And for the right amount of money, why wouldn't you add another guy that can win in one-on-one? You add Odell Beckham to Ayuk, Deebo, receiving core with Jawan Jennings. It would by far be the best wide receiver room in the entire NFC. So I think it's something they could entertain. It was, 5-6 years ago now, that he walked up after a game and said to John Lynch, come get me. Could it be the time when the 49ers go get Odell Beckham Jr., add him to this roster, add him to this offense? You're going all in. It's something to consider. Now, 49ers have had problems with injured receivers, injured players overall over the last several years, and Odell Beckham has struggled with injuries, including getting hurt in the Super Bowl last year. Not exactly what you want, but he wouldn't be asked to overtax himself coming off an ACL. He'd be able to kind of come back in, slowly fit into what the 49ers want to do. And with them having half the season left, he could get to where he needs to be By the time you get to that stretch run, it's kind of what happened in Los Angeles. He struggled a little bit early, and then as he got comfortable with the offense that McVay was going to run, comfortable with Matthew Stafford, he took off and had a big game against the San Francisco 49ers. So, am I at least interested in this? Yes. I'm interested for a couple of reasons. Number one, you don't have to give up any trade capital, any draft capital. You already did that with, picking up Christian McCaffrey, which I love the move. It makes a lot of sense now, especially after seeing the game. I think it's easier for me to say that. But number two, he's a guy you could probably get on a cheap rate that could come in and help you win a Super Bowl. It's about getting over the top. The guy that understands what it takes to get there now. Odell Beckham is now a proven commodity in the playoffs. He wasn't when he was with the Giants. He didn't have an opportunity with the Browns, and now he is one of those guys. So I think getting guys in there like that is good. You don't want to mess up and upset the chemistry within the locker room. That's something to take into consideration. So if Brandon Ayuk really doesn't want him here, that's something to remember. But with the interesting things you do with Deebo Samuel, and the way Brandon Ayuk is really coming onto the scene, having that extra threat with the things you can do with Deebo, including putting Deebo in the slot, I think makes for a lot of exciting times for the 49ers. We'll see if Schefter's right. Schefter did not have no hard evidence. He did not say this is going to happen. What he was just saying is entertaining the possibility, because now you're in the inverse. Last year, it was the Rams that had the better record, and they were sitting in the right situation. This year, it's the 49ers. So could the shoe be on the other foot? 49ers walk away with Odell Beckham Jr., maybe potentially end up walking away with a Super Bowl win. I don't know. It would be fun, though. And just thinking about an offense that includes the weapons that Jimmy Garoppolo would have at his disposal, it's pretty exciting. I mean, with wide receivers like Ayuk, Deebo, OBJ, Jawan Jennings, those four guys alone, nasty, with Ray McLeod being the fifth guy in that situation. And then you throw in Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson Jr., Kyle Juszczyk. You got the all-pro tight end and George Kittle. Spectacular. I think anytime you can take a chance on somebody, you do. But I'm curious, what do you guys think about Odell Beckham potentially coming to the 49ers? Is Schefter just spouting his mouth? You don't want to see Odell Beckham here. Would you be entertaining the option if it was pretty cheap and you don't have to give up anything, financially? Of course, you don't have to give up any trade capital because it's a signing. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I'm really curious. Let's have a fun conversation about Odell Beckham and if he should come to San Francisco. Also, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for joining. Looking forward to more conversations because it's heating up. The 49ers are in the midst of a playoff run. So they're going to be tied to a lot of players, and Odell Beckham could make sense for the 49ers. But thanks for joining me for this episode. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.